right, welcome to the NPCs once-over of Final Fantasy VII Remake. I am Daniel. I'm joined by Preston.
Yo!
Travis. And our guest today, Austin.
Hi.
Travis, say something.
No.
They can
I'm so enchanted by the fact of this like splash screen here.
You
for
were just
the Final Fantasy
bullshitting a
VII
bullshitter.
remake
Don't
demo.
do it. There's no enchantment.
All right, so man, I'm just so excited that this is a thing. We actually get to play this game early. I know it's just a demo, but, you know, whatever. It's Final Fantasy VII, so that I get to play it at all makes me happy. We'll be playing this on normal. We're going to watch the intro cutscene here just to kind of get a grasp on how good this game looks, but after that I'm going to be skipping through cutscenes just to kind of push this along so we can get to the gameplay.
It is gorgeous, though. Like,
Absolutely is.
It's also going to inject a nice shot of nostalgia right into your eyeballs.
So far, so good.
How good she looks.
So how much of the actual like opening cutscene here did they expand on against the original?
Quite a bit.
Okay.
This part right here is new.
But there are certain parts of it, though, that are almost like
Frame for
frame.
Yeah.
I think that was the whole thing I was reading about is that the original designers and creators of Final Fantasy VII wanted to make sure that they could be the ones to do this.
They're all
and,
back.
Yeah, and not like pass it off to another generation. I guess I don't remember what the real reasoning was, but I think it had something to do with more like an appreciation for trying to keep it as in line with the classic, with the original. But I don't know. I mean, that's kind of taking some credit away from the developers there at Square Enix, but especially the younger generation. But I get it. You know, this is kind of their baby, and they want to make sure that everything comes out looking the way it should.
I'm glad to see they're taking their time with this rather than rushing a piece of shit product out.
What you think they talked about it as a remake for PlayStation 2? They talked about it as a
The level of detail.
a release for PlayStation 3 because of the tech demo, and then now here we are.
Like, look, you can see between the plates. You can see the slums. Right
Austin
there.
was telling me about that. He goes, "Oh, that was pretty cool." He said it right off the bat, too.
Yeah.
I mean,
And this music is just phenomenal.
Cool.
Just hearing this theme brings it all back.
Oh, for sure. Just
It's 1997 again. You know?
I still have a promising life ahead of me. Can we stay here? I saw the sign. Is that 95?
somewhere around there.
I think that's 95. Ace of Base was in the 90s, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Did you open up your eyes? You're
I saw
happy
the
now?
sign. When's this coming out, Dan?
1 month, April 10th.
Ah,
God damn it.
I was hoping it was going to come out in a cruel summer.
You son of a bitch.
Remember how we talked about before we started the
My bad.
recording?
Sorry.
To do big words.
Sorry.
The opportunity is presented.
No, I won't do it again, I promise. Please don't. Ooh, quite the entrance, Cloud.
That's what he does, man.
Where's his chest?
I actually read something about a sword designer was looking at Cloud's Buster sword,
Impossible.
and he was like, it would weigh easily 80 pounds. So the fact that he's just like single-handed like pulling it out, just
Did they introduce anything else additional here because of, the victory bit at the end where he's spinning his sword around behind his back? Did they introduce any like wrist crunching or anything as he's breaking his bones, spinning that around behind him?
If it was realistic, it would have.
Yeah.
I mean, just look at this.
Looks great.
It does.
It's so smooth. It's
Lighting.
so seamless.
the lighting effects play really well. How they balance the shadows.
Now, because of course all of the changes that had to go into this, what engine is this running on? Is this the same one that 15 was made in? Or are we having to kind of go look back at like maybe 13's?
I have not a clue about the
Yeah,
engine.
not
Okay.
even a little.
Because I know 13 was, of course, a 360 PlayStation 3 game, but I was just wondering just because of how long it's been in development.
So I do like here how you can kind of switch between little mode menu. Like it allows you to...
Yeah, I'm skipping the tutorial because I've played this probably 8 or 9 times already. I just can't get enough of it.
You and a lot of other people, especially a lot of the speedrunners, trying to speedrun just this, or getting prepped for at least a full release. No kidding.
I wonder how long a speedrun of this would take, like the full game.
I mean, he's just building up combo to release a superpower.
Man, whatever was going on behind that column, man, we really should not have been seeing it then.
Oh, look, he switched to punishment mode and fucked some shit up.
Oh man, Punishment Road just fucking wrecks people.
You say punishment road?
I may have.
Punishment Road,
Who lives
take
on that?
me home.
Oh, good. He just fucking barrels through these fucking barricades.
Yeah, the lack of a jump really upsets me.
Yes!
Not a big deal.
Well, especially coming off of like having played Final Fantasy 15 where you're jumping around all over the fucking place. I'm just like, why is there no jump? Because it breaks me. It takes me out of it for a second when he's just like walking through those traffic barriers and
Just pushing them aside.
and they're falling over like
That's fucking
like paper towel rolls and
ridiculous.
shit. It's just like
I think
would
that
be
was
better
kept in there as the
if-
fact that people knew it would be just that ridiculous.
Just don't put them in or don't have me It's just so weird that it would be barreling through them like, move! I like that counter a lot. That's a really nice addition.
God, just the attack motions are just that gorgeous looking, though, too. Just so much everything pops.
You know, this is my second time actually, like, on the visual end watching it, and I've got to say, I could kind of do without a lot of the sparks every time he hits something.
I
Like,
guess
there-
probably that's just to
don't
offer
mind
to
that.
more of the immersion in the fact that it's like, he's using something metal against other metal things.
Yeah, I don't mind that.
But I get it. I understand.
yeah, I mean, it's not that bothersome. I just, like, take about, 20% off.
Yeah, I was going to say, maybe dial it down a tiny bit depending on what you're actually fighting. So how long exactly is this overall demo? Is it just an hour?
It's about an hour if you take your time with it. I can do it in under half an hour,
Okay.
but that's also because I'm skipping all these cutscenes and stuff. But it's
You get some character development in those, though. Like,
yeah. It
they're
makes you care about these side characters that you normally in the original didn't care about. So that's nice that they're like, hey, we're going to expand on even side characters.
I'm sure that when you first played this demo, that as soon as a cutscene came on, you set down the controller and you were just engrossed in it.
Absolutely.
I do like
Good.
that the security only comes 2 at a time.
That's convenient, right?
It's just video game trope shit, but
What was that noise?
I don't know. You two go check it out. If you don't come back in 10 minutes, I'll follow you in.
Got like 2 guards standing out of the side here, like hearing all this slashing and attacking. It's just, I wonder what that is.
Take the Chimera dog with you.
Oh yeah, I mean, I can't even remember how many times playing like Skyrim that there's like an arrow sticking out of a guard's throat where it's like, must have been the wind.
Must have been. Are you okay?
But you can't get away with that. I mean, this game came out in 97, so it's all gotta, to really stick with a lot of it, it's gotta maintain those tropes.
So, this is the part where I enjoy the hack and slash combat. On these small enemies, I feel like it plays hack and slash.
But on like the boss front,
But on the boss front, I don't feel like you play that way. I feel like it
It's a little
slows
more
down.
management heavy.
It is.
is it
and I
because
don't-
of a lack of jump?
No,
Perhaps because
it's
of
not
the
even
hack and slash
necessarily
side?
that.
Okay.
It's
They're a
the
little
enemies
more
are bullet
spongy.
sponges.
Yeah.
You're not going to bring them down in a quick. Like Dan's making it look nice because it's a nice fluid combo. He's building up that ATB and then landing a super hit. a power hit, and I mean he makes it look fluid. If you do that on the guy, it just doesn't look as good, and then you have to slow down to do resource management because first you have to slow down. Like, okay, I have to throw out a thunder attack
I'll actually do
from
that
Barrett.
right here. Well, maybe not right here, but once we get Barrett, it'll slow down a little bit because I'll have to actually manage 2 party members now. But right now, it's not too bad.
I just like the fact that the door closed. He looks back and he's like, "You're not locked in here. I'm not locked in here with
Whoa.
you. You're locked in here with me."
Okay, that one guard just went looking at all those boxes, like moving them over so he had a place to shoot from instead of just shooting you.
He was building a box.
Did
fort.
anyone else see that guard do that?
I didn't. Was he building like a box fort or something?
No, he was like looking at the boxes, like, here, you guys take care of him. 2 at a time. We cannot attack more than 2. Unless we have a Chimera dog.
And like enemy designs,
I think those look okay. Right.
But I mean, like that's the exact same look that the dogs had back in the day. Like,
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah. Well, it'd be weird if it didn't, wouldn't it?
well, I think that was one of the concerns that people. Well, actually, I'm gonna push it up real fast. That was one of the concerns people had. Is like, well, is it going to be too realistic? It's not going to, because it kind of has to look good. But people were afraid it was going to lose kind of the feel that it had, like with the enemy design and so on and so forth. And I think they found a good balance with making them look updated, but still true to what they were originally.
I would think that Square Enix does a pretty good job with that, even in like Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah,
It doesn't look real, but it still looks great. They're pretty good by that. Or
we
good with
got
that kind of
Barrett
stuff.
now.
Make sure you hold square.
Oh my god, yeah, his game. Talk about night and fucking day between him and Cloud.
I'm just surprised, but see, that's
Camera can get a little wonky, but that's to be expected when you're fighting in tight corridors.
And obviously, this is just still the demo, and there's so much more of the game to see as once the full release comes out. But
that's what Dan was telling me about.
Like right now, playing Barrett feels like a chore rather than like I'm sitting there spinning around with my fucking sword and just laying waste to enemies with Cloud, and then it's like, I guess I'm gonna take out that fucking security camera.
But Dan was telling me that like later in the he was seeing that you'll get a mixture of melee and range attacks for Barrett too. So I won't I won't just feel like I'm holding square down.
You remember some of his weapons were melee weapons, so like he's gonna have different play styles.
I didn't.
I do remember he had like a big
just a cannonball.
Yeah, instead of a gun, it was just a big solid cannonball that he would just beat the shit out of people with.
Oh my god!
Now this is new. We never had to do any kind of whatever. You had to time the buttons in the original, the button presses, but actual like.
Heaven forbid our security system stays on the whole time.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, they don't want to use too much energy.
Yeah.
They've got a budget.
They're only a power plant.
So they've got to make sure that they're only firing certain lasers at the same.
This is video game logic right here.
Yeah.
I mean, if we're gonna critique it on that level, they could easily crawl between almost any of those.
They really could. I think Barrett would probably have the only issue.
There's no real punishment either for actually touching the lasers. It's 10 points of damage.
So it's like you just stub your toe or something really walking through one of these.
Ow, that hurt a little.
Wow.
Actually, no, whatever. Who cares?
Well, you went for glory.
Yeah.
My sneezes, they sound amazing.
But like they look so goofy, and they looked goofy in the original, and it's nice to see that they tried to stay true as they could to these designs for enemies.
That's appreciated.
I think it's kind of cool seeing like some of the stuff. Like obviously the main characters and stuff had their actual like, more expanded, well put together artist renditions, even though they were chunky pixelated blocks on the screen. But there's a lot of enemies and monsters that like didn't really have a lot of like fleshed out look in the gameplay that were able to be reinterpreted and end up looking good in the remake. It's a really impractical security system.
See how much more grindy this part feels to me. That's where I'm like, okay, I want you to either be hack and slash or turn-based.
This little mini boss guy there. Like,
yeah, this is when I started feeling that. I mean, I understand all you're trying to do is just get that stagger up so you can wail on him.
Yeah, the first time I did this fight, it took me a couple minutes. But once you get more familiar with managing your ATB, it flies a lot.
I think it took me a couple minutes, too.
okay.
Yeah.
The banter is really good. It feels believable. Barrett's still a little animated, but that's just kind of his personality.
I just don't understand like why every black character in every Japanese game is fucking Mr. T. There's just seriously, they're always just the most exaggerated stereotype.
I don't know what to say about that one.
You have to see it. Barrett does come off like a Mr. T.
I bet that was intentional in the original, so I think they obviously didn't want to stray too far from what they had originally planned for him. I wish I could do more than one swing. That's a small gripe I have when I don't hit all the boxes. I have to... He puts his sword away and then swings again. It's like,
my sword is 7 feet long. Why didn't it hit everything?
Jeez.
Saying, I wonder if you can see it. Like that was one of my problems is when you're a hack and slash that the invincibility window on a dodge. It's non-existent in this, and
it's glaring.
Like
when you're in a boss fight, it's so obvious.
Like, remember how I'm looking and seeing how much better at this Dan is than I was. Now that he's played it a few times versus how I looked, and he's still taking damage.
Oh yeah,
because there's just no way around it.
Well, and that was one of the things I was telling you when we were doing the recording. Is like the original was turn-based, so you were going to take damage. Just by the nature of it being a turn-based RPG. Right. So, like, the fact that I'm always taking damage is fine with me because I almost kind of expect it with the...
Even though it's hack and slash?
Yes.
See, I wouldn't know. See, that's where that starts breaking down for me.
I do definitely appreciate where you're coming from, though, because, like, I get that. Like, the original, you just kind of expect it, but more to what Preston's saying, like, the way it's styled right now, like, I want to dodge and not...
You want to be rewarded for your skill.
Damage. Yeah, like exactly. Like if I'm sitting there and I'm skillfully placing my dodges on time, I expect from other hack and slash games that I'm gonna be able to keep my health bar full because
it does give you a nice supply of potions, though. I didn't feel like that was a problem.
That's a fair assessment. That makes sense.
And I actually wonder if potions will be as
relevant.
I'm wondering by the end, yeah.
Well, like just attainable. I mean, like right now in the demo alone. I mean, I remember going into the boss battle and I had like 40 some odd health potions or something like that. I mean, it was a lot of potions. Like, there was never a time where I was like, I'm going to run out of potions before I beat this boss.
I did the first time. I was like 8 out of I used like 15 potions my first time playing this.
I died because I didn't know that Phoenix thing brought Cloud, or you can bring a guy back with it. I didn't know what it did.
Oh, Phoenix down?
Yeah, whatever the hell it's called, okay. Yeah. And I was down to Barrett, so I was just sitting there holding square the whole fucking time.
But you don't play a lot of, like, this style of, like, older turn-based. Like, Phoenix Down is kind of like a...
Yeah, I'm sure, yeah.
That's a Final Fantasy.
Yeah, you know what Phoenix Down is.
That's one of the big things with this, is
they
the
don't
Phoenix
have that
Down
in
is the
Kingdom
fact
Hearts.
that you can recover.
You just don't die.
Yeah.
It's good to see that this game has to give you a second chance.
Now, Dan, what I'm wondering is this... Austin, maybe you can answer this too, is that going back to like the original Final Fantasy VII, from getting off the train to getting to this point, does it seem like it ran longer to get here in the original game versus getting to it now?
No, it's much more expanded upon in here.
Oh yeah, no, like you're at the Scorpion Sentinel part, like what, 2.5 minutes into the original.
So you only have maybe 1 or 2 turn-based combat actions in the original game where you'd only get through those, you'd earn enough stuff or something, and then end up actually at the Scorpion. Whereas now, on the other hand, you have more enemies you're actually fighting in more like level, actually more movement through a level than you were.
Yeah.
I
thought you had to dodge.
They definitely. I mean, it definitely seems like they're trying to give life to every single part.
Yeah, see, that was where the no
Okay.
invincibility window on a dodge really was pissing me off on the damn
the
missile.
timing on this was going to be in line with it, but I get it because it's a completely different game.
Right.
Yeah, in the sense of the way it has to play versus how it was back in '97.
Well, and like up until this point in the original, you're running through a couple of corridors and you're fighting a couple of waves of the generic little soldier dudes and the guard dogs, but nothing like what Dan ran through here just now. I mean, they really did. They made it a mission. Like it's an actual opening. And I actually think it's kind of perfect that they chose this portion for the demo, because I think it really showcases how much more they put into it and how expanded it's going to be with the final product releases. I'm actually a little concerned, and I've said this before, that I think it might be too big, because just the initial release, they said they're going to release it in installments, and you're not even going to be out of Midgar. I mean, you're the first installment ends.
Yeah, it's got a pretty
when
big
you're
radius.
first leaving Midgar, which is
Not much of a tell
not
either on
super far into the original game.
Do you think they're going to end up paring down the other discs then, or the other sections, just to be able to go ahead and meet like a certain amount of time, or do you think it's going to be literally the entire game that came out in '97, just with the updated gameplay and
I'm still
graphics?
overzealous.
I actually think that they are stretching it out into multiple full-length video games. Like, I think that we're going to be looking at several, 80-hour plus installments.
Okay.
And that in a way that can be, I mean, for the nostalgia factor, that can be great. I mean, it does. Final Fantasy VII, one of the reasons why it's been so sought after for a remake for so long is, I mean, it just had such an amazing story. It really hit so hard with so many people who played it when it first came out, and we're all really excited about it. I'm a little bit worried about the fatigue of it all, because I'm worried that I'm going to play the first installment, and it's yet to be seen. I mean, there's no really structured release of how it's going to be broken down.
Maybe the bigger difference with this, though, is that it's because it has such a huge following that people aren't going to care. But anybody who's like, oh, I've never played Final Fantasy VII before, hops into this as their first playthrough instead of the original.
That'll be me.
Yeah, Preston being an example.
Oh, and
may end up kind of feeling the strain and feeling the frustration that it's like, oh man, why wasn't this just one game?
Right.
I can see that.
It'll truly depend on what they do in between story beats for me. If they make me grind, Dan already knows I'm going to be mad. I hate that fucking missile attack.
Yeah, it's pretty brutal. I'm actually kind of taking me a while to get through this second phase here.
Well, and then touching back on, Preston talking about the boss fights here, this whole time that we've been talking, and Scorpion Sentinel is not even at half health. Like, he is a damage, like a black hole. Like, it just takes forever. And I know that this is supposed to be like a really difficult, early on boss. It's supposed to feel like insurmountable, but it does make me concerned for later boss fights. Because, I mean, obviously your abilities are going to ramp up. You're going to get your materia. You're going to get all your different kinds of spells and abilities and summons and things that you can use. But this fight is a slog.
That's why I was kind of wondering, I started kind of picturing that in my head. It's like, what are the other boss battles going to be like? Are they going to be
They're all going to be insane.
They are going to, yeah. And so it's going to be a lot of that. So, Preston,
this was like
how do
a
you
2-minute fight in the original.
Yeah, that's what I remember. That's why I'm like, oh man, this is definitely rough. So, Preston, how does that make you feel about the rest of the game then?
What do you mean?
With these boss battles being like this.
I don't like slogs.
This long, okay.
I mean, on one hand, I do like when a boss I don't. You shouldn't kill a boss in 30 seconds. Like,
oh, for sure.
This is a boss fight. It should be taking time. But I feel like it's a giant HP pool. Like, Dan's not having to learn these combos really. Like, it's not like he's having to master a pattern. Like it feels like in Dark Souls. So,
right,
it just feels like we're just gonna be here all fucking day.
Right, like you're not besting an enemy because you learned what it's doing and played better than it did. You're just hitting it and hitting it and hitting it.
I feel like I'm managing my systems better than he is. That's what I feel like.
Right.
Which isn't necessarily bad. Like I think that's bad in a hack and slash. I don't think, less than ideal. I don't even think bad's right because I still had a lot of fun with this demo.
Oh yeah,
less than ideal. But in a turn-based, fuck yes, it's all about systems. Oh Dan.
Yeah, you're gonna get the business end of that laser.
I thought you were gonna eat that one so bad.
I was being a little ballsy there. I'll be honest.
Are you picking this one up, sure?
I thought about it, but I have nothing against the demo here as time goes on.
Any damage there.
I don't know if I'm really going to. I might go and rent it or something, or if it comes out. But actually, here's the problem: is that it's on PlayStation, and all I've got is the Xbox One. There's timed exclusivity with that, so I won't actually be able to pick it up for the Xbox until next year. So honestly, it won't matter.
I didn't even know that they were planning an Xbox release.
They are. It's because this was a PlayStation game that it's the timed exclusivity, and it's going to be a full year. So it won't be out on Xbox Series X or Xbox One X or anything like that until next March or April.
A year seems kind of steep.
It's, again, I think it's just because, Final Fantasy's home, at least, for quite a while, was PlayStation.
Oh, up until very recently, I would say.
13 was when it broke that mold. Yeah.
I think I'd like to walk back my statement on the shortcuts. I see how fucking helpful that goddamn slowdown is right there.
Although I guess if you look at some of the other Final Fantasy games that came out on Nintendo consoles, it was on Nintendo, Super Nintendo, and Game Boy. But overall, your core Final Fantasy games, the majority of them over the years have really been PlayStation releases. And then some expansion to PC and some Xbox, so. But yeah.
Final phase.
What again about the slowdown you were talking about, Preston?
When you go into your commands menu, how it just stops time. I originally I had a real big problem with that. I just wanted to, but that just went along with it. I wanted to be a hack and slash, so I want the constant.
Right, you wanted that smooth fluid.
Yeah,
basically
the whole
to
thing
force you to make the decision at the right time instead of just.
Yeah, okay. But it's a necessity if you're going to constantly take damage. If you're going to not give me an invincibility window, if you're not going to give me the hack and slash things I want, then yeah, you need that. So I would like to walk back my statement on that, my criticism of that, because
I think because where it's at now is that as you were playing it, now you're just watching someone else play it, and I think you're now starting to see the value in it instead. I think that's where it's probably coming from. But if you were just a straight play this and that not actually really watch, I think you'd probably still be stuck in the same mindset. So good for you.
Thank you.
I was hoping you were going to finish it off with a limit break.
That's what I was trying to do.
Well done.
Thank you.
But the first time I went through almost all my potions, and even this time I was still overly aggressive and I was taking a lot of unnecessary damage. So, there's a little bit of reward for knowing when to block, and I'm just I don't really care. We'll see if I need to care more for other bosses, since this is just the beginning boss. Maybe they'll actually make me have to learn to block, or else I'm going to take too much damage. It's too early to tell, but there's definitely...
No, he is not going to take 19 minutes to get out of here, sure.
No.
Sherm's just seeing his face, he's like, what the fuck? Are you shitting me?
No, I knew there was the timer on this part. Wasn't there... was it 20 minutes also in the original? Was 20 minutes? It was 10.
See how much of a badass you fucking look like and feel like when you're just fucking slapping down these small enemies? You're just slicing through them like nothing. That's hack and slash at its best. And then you gotta go down for an 8-minute fight against a giant ass boss. I don't feel like a badass.
Jesse, no.
She's safe.
She's all right. Just leave her.
God damn, it looks good though. Seamless transition from cutscene to gameplay. That's nice.
That's always nice.
I think it's helpful now that the processing power is there that you can actually render the cutscenes in engine.
That's so
and
cool.
so it allows for that.
Yeah, I like that music a lot too.
Look after Jesse, sucker.
Shut up, Barrett. God, he's just...
Jive turkey.
I don't know who racist the gamer Dan right now.
I'm actually pretty sure, though.
Yes.
I'm actually pretty sure there's a few times in the original game where Barrett says "sucka." Like,
if he doesn't say "sucka," I will feel gypped.
Excuse you, Jesse.
Well, I mean, they may have.
I wish that I was Jesse's girl.
I can't account for what's been changed, but
it's a big ass sword.
I feel bad for anybody that walks
You can see
behind
the
Cloud.
materia. You can see the materia in the.
Oh yeah, you can, can't you?
Just...
I feel bad for anybody that walks behind Cloud because if he ends up having to bend over and go pick up some type of collectible and they keep running, they're just going to impale themselves on his sword.
Cloud can't drop pennies. Like, there's no. He can't pick it up. Where do they?
No.
Why is he over there? Oh, that's right.
He was too lazy to rescue Jesse himself.
But at least he could scream it at you.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, Jesse cuts this real close here. I'm like, he's not done shooting yet.
You have two enemies? Or two guys? Look at that.
Man, making short work. Compared to you, Barrett's bullets look like Nerf bullets here right now. Chipping away. This still looks really good. It doesn't matter where you're at, whether you're in a big open area or even a corridor.
Well, and it's tough to make a factory look memorable. And they've done a pretty good job with that. Like, I actually knew my way back, I felt like. I'm like, I know where I'm going.
I didn't feel like the hindrance from back in the day where it was just repeating textures and just repeating hallways and stairways. Yeah.
Let's get a little buff going.
I will say I do
here.
also
With
like
this
the.
braver.
I feel like you can actually feel progression a little bit because, like, I remember on my playthrough of this, that second sweeper, like, did not take nearly as much time as that first sweeper. Like, you can feel that you're
learning the mechanics of the
you got
game.
the mechanics down, you've got that. Like, I think there's a notable feel of progression in it.
Yes, but will he ever learn not to just barrel through police barricades?
Nope.
Just walk through them.
I can learn all the techniques I want.
Cloud can
I
only
will
jump.
not go around.
Cloud can only jump if his sword carries him up into the air, Mjolnir style.
Oh, so he's not jumping. He's just holding onto his sword as it flies.
Yep.
He's using the momentum of when he's swinging the sword
I
around to pull him up in
see.
the air.
You, sir, are full of shit.
Ha!
Okay, I didn't like these guys the first time I fought them.
Oh no, these guys are kind of dicks.
Why ignore me?
So if you don't plan out your stuff just right, you're going to probably eat up that full 20 minutes then? Or at least
No,
get very
no,
close
not
to the
even.
tail end?
No, not even close.
Oh
Okay.
no. You would have to really be trying to go slowly.
You would have to be walking
And-
as slow as possible, and I still don't
And
know
you'd
if you
still do it in 10.
Okay. How long did it take you, Preston, when you played through this?
could. Like, in this 20-minute area, or...
Yeah.
I'm probably right around where Dan is. Like, I was
Okay.
going just about as fast. He's taking these guys out a little faster than me, so probably had like another minute and a half to 2 minutes here.
Okay.
But I'm right here.
Okay. Just wondering for someone who hadn't, who hasn't played a Final Fantasy game really versus someone who's spent many a time playing Final Fantasy games.
Right. Yeah, it'll be an interesting comparison by the time we're all done to see.
Here we go.
Yeah,
4.5 minutes instead of 20.
Damn, man.
The first time it took me about 12 minutes. And somehow, 4 seconds left.
Yeah, we'll definitely have an interesting comparison with
yeah, but it's like
my
these
perspective
touches,
versus Dan's.
Like, they never showed this in the original. Like we were talking about when we were talking about what we were playing.
In the original, so.
Right.
But, the next part of the original game is you're on the train and Jessie's freaking out because she's like, my bomb wasn't supposed to blow up the entire reactor. I must have messed up somehow. And she's got this guilt attached to her that they never go in depth about in the original game after that point.
Right.
You just kind of ignore it and you're like, oh, I guess she messed up. She feels bad. And then, but like here, you're like, oh, come on. She's still going to have that guilt because them as Avalanche isn't going to know what's going on. But now we as the player now have an additional piece of information that's like, oh, it was Shinra that actually did it to themselves to pin it on us. So they're just these little bits of information that are filling in these gaps in the original.
Okay.
Does Cloud get less boring?
No. I don't imagine he does. He's pretty milquetoast.
Yeah, he changes a lot.
Can you walk? If I couldn't, believe me, you'd be the first to know.
I'll take that as a yes.
Okay, let's talk more running.
Exposition for the sake of exposition.
That's because she's thirsting for Cloud.
Cloud and his Buster sword.
Okay, that was pretty cool. Everything else you've done has been dog shit. But that jump
Remember when you cut down 4 enemies at once? Yeah,
I've been
whatever,
so
dude.
fucking bored this whole time.
makes me
That-
wet like a slip
that
and
I
slide. This isn't for kids.
Jesse's moister than an oyster right now.
Moister.
Wow. Wow.
Moister than an oyster, Shoim. And then it just says like this little,
Fantastic.
look at what we do. What'd you think?
It's Final Fantasy VII.
It is Final Fantasy.
I don't
VII.
really know what else to say about it. I mean, if I said anything different, I'd probably get shot.
I will protect you from Dan.
Oh,
I
now
can't
it's
wait
just
to
little,
watch her
like,
die.
Like,
Just that.
next week on Final Fantasy VII.
That's what it's kind of playing like, right?
Right? Will Cloud damage his flower in his fight?
He still has it right there. Cool.
Thank God.
Will Barrett manage to not sound like a racist stereotype?
No.
Find out next week.
Does he have a flower with him all the time?
Forever, for the rest of the game.
That whole chapter he will.
Oh, okay.
That was cool.
Tune in
That's actually
to
something in the first
Final
one. She comes up to
Fantasy
you
VII.
and you have a chance to buy it or not. And that option is still here, so you can choose not to buy it from her, and he won't have that flower.
Yeah, but the thing is with this one, if he chooses not to buy the flower, she just throws herself into traffic.
Is this Neo now?
Just about.
That was pretty close.
Well, that was cool.
Yeah, that was.
Yeah, I mean, that was the gameplay of the demo. I know I skipped through some of the cutscenes just for time, but it's the beginning, so if you pick it up, you'll definitely see them in their entirety. So, but that was the once over here for VII Remake.
Woo!
Hope you guys had some fun watching. I had fun playing, but of
course
course
you
I'm
did.
always going to. So,
Dan's like, I'll play it every day,
yeah,
all day.
I'll play it again right now. But that's been it for us, guys. Thanks for joining.
Laters.
Bye.